Discord in the in the servers that weren't talking to each other. In 2016, a guy called Yugen Rajka was dissatisfied with the way Twitter was working, with the way it was moderated, with the way different people were being allowed to stay on there, and he basically wanted Twitter with no Nazis. Was originally sort of the origin of it. So he created Mastodon. Okay, and Mastodon sort of looked a little bit like TweetDeck. I understand. I was never on Twitter, so I don't have as much knowledge of those tools. But think about it this way: if you're trying to create a new social network from scratch, what happens when you start out? You're the only person in town with a walkie-talkie, and you're sitting there going, "Hello, click, hello." There's nobody else there. So what he did was he tapped into the existing structure of GNU Social that was already there, and there were already servers. So when he created his network, he could bring people in and say, "Oh, you don't just talk to the people on my server. There are these other people in the network you talk to as well." So even a brand new sort of burgeoning new product like Mastodon had the weight of an existing network that it could lean on, so that there were already users there. And these were people that have been around, through all of the preceding generations of these networks. So he started gaining some popularity. In 2018, but that was all using GNU Social. They don't talk to Pump.io. It's still a little bit weird, In 2018, there was a new protocol called ActivityPub. Finally got accepted as a standard by the W3C. Now this was being worked on for years by, familiar name, Evan Prodromou, the guy who started the whole StatusNet, Pump.io, all of these. He took the best of these, worked with a bunch of people, including Christine Lemmer-Weber, which I always have trouble pronouncing because of the things in a row, and a bunch of other people. So they codified, they got this standard through the standards bodies. So now we have a nice, it's much better than what preceded it, and vastly better than the siloed stuff, obviously, because you can intercommunicate. But we've got a more flexible, more robust protocol. Make sense? We're a pretty small room. If anybody has questions, feel free to get my attention. If I have to hold off, I'll let you know, but I'll get to all the questions. So, let's talk a little bit about federation. Most services that you think of are run by a single company or organization. You've got Twitter, you've got Facebook. You play by their rules, that's pretty much it. If you want to participate with people on that network, you have to sign up for it. You have to sign up for their network and do what they say with your account or get bounced out. That's it. They're where the highway. There is one exception to that. We have, I forget, someone said, network protocol by snapshot. You can snapshot your thing from one service and paste it into another, which is a suboptimal way to work across networks. Federation allows people on different services to interoperate with each other. So if everybody is talking the ActivityPub protocol, I can send a picture to someone that's not on the same service I'm on. Or I can follow somebody that produces videos, and when they produce a new video, I get a notification from them, and I can watch the video and comment from my service, and it picks up on their service. Okay, so you don't have to sign up on everybody's thing and take screenshots of the interesting stuff and then send them over to them. You can actually participate in those other networks. It also helps with moderation. You look at a big network, like a Twitter or a Facebook, an easy enough problem is coming up with a rational set of rules that moderate everybody's, so the conversations don't go directly into the sewer. It's easy to do that for 3 billion people, right? One coherent set of rules makes perfect sense for everybody in the world. Well, in a federation, you have smaller communities, smaller people running, not smaller people running smaller instances, really small people. People running a smaller service. So they can say, hey, these are the rules for this service. If you are really dissatisfied with the way we're running things, you can find another service to go to. And it's not like saying you could find another Twitter to go to, which is basically you have no choice. You play by the rules or you're out. You can find someone and say, I think you're a little too strict, or I think you're not strict enough. I'm seeing too much distasteful content. I'd like to go someplace where the moderation rules are a little tighter. These are all options to you. And also on a personal level, you can block both users and you can block entire instances. If a particular instance is sending bad messages your way, and you go, look, they don't moderate well. all the crummy people are sending me garbage, you can block the entire instance so that you, in your personal experience, don't have to deal with anybody on that instance. Okay, here's a bad illustration of federation. I know because I made it. So centralized, everybody has to log into one server or servers controlled by one entity. And that's it, they're ready to the highway. Federated is everybody logs into a local server, and you can pick the server you want with their either interests or rules or whatever, and but you can still talk to people on other services. If you need an analogy, and I should have mentioned this on an earlier slide, think of email. You don't have to be on the same email server as somebody to email them. I don't know if those of you that were around, before SMTP email became popular. You had people, if you're on CompuServe, you can't email people on Prodigy, and you can't email people on AOL. It was chaos. Now, everybody uses protocols that work together, so you can email people on other servers. This is a similar type of idea, except with short messages, videos, and because the protocol is very flexible, lots of other stuff can get attached to it, so there's all kinds of other services coming around to that. Oh, and the Fediverse, so say, the person that runs this server really doesn't like the people on this server, so what they've done is silence them. So it's sort of like a soft block. We haven't totally blocked them, but you don't see them in your regular feed. But if you find somebody over there you want to talk to, you can follow them and then you can communicate with them. That's why I put this sort of Fediverse where it's different. If these two servers have decided, we don't like each other that much, but they're silenced instead of totally blocked, people can still follow each other outside of that. And also there's the possibility of running a single user instance. Run your own ballgame, and then just subscribe to who you want. Okay, here's a few of the services. I'm going to go through these a little bit quick. If people have questions about them, we'll have time to do them afterwards. So microblogging type services, think sort of like a Twitter-ish type of thing. Not exactly the same, but similar. It sort of scratches a similar itch. Mastodon, Pleroma, and Misskey are all server packages that do that. And then you find somebody running them, or run your own. If you want to do image hosting, something like Instagram, PixelFed. I'm going to show examples of some of these, not all of them. There's a link aggregator service, sort of like Reddit, except you can follow topics without having an account on the server, and so you'll see the topics as they come up, and you can respond to them from a Mastodon account or something else. And I lean very heavily on Mastodon. Let me just put a little note in here. There are lots and lots of services on the Fediverse, but literally the elephant in the room is Mastodon. Mastodon is probably what 95% of people are going to see, at the very least, for their first experience on the Fediverse. You might try the other services, and I don't dissuade people from going with the big thing. Go ahead, jump on Mastodon, see how it works out for you. And if you say, I really like this image sharing thing, I'd rather live over there, you can get an account on a different server. So write as and read as are full-on blogging software that also interoperate with the Fediverse. Obviously, if you're on a short messaging service, you can't just do a flat-out full blog post unless you work with the server to do a longer post or use a service like that. PeerTube is video hosting that use ActivityPub to send announcements about the messages, and they also use a BitTorrent-ish kind of protocol on top of it to share the video. So if a lot of people are watching a video, your server doesn't necessarily get crushed by that. Yes?
I was going to say, isn't like a downside of this would be like PeerTube wouldn't have the same level of the number of people that YouTube would have. So there's not like all my favorite creators wouldn't be on PeerTube. So I'd find like new people to follow.
Yeah, and there is discoverability is a little bit harder because you've got servers all over the place.
Right. And
there's no unified search for all of that. So yes, not everything's perfect. You don't have the same discoverability that you have on YouTube. But if you combine that with Mastodon has pretty good reach among Mastodon servers, again, not as big as Twitter, but still 10 million users, it's nothing to sneeze at, it's still pretty big. You can then advertise your PeerTube stuff from that and get people to subscribe. So yeah. It's a system that's gaining momentum. So it's certainly not there.
Even with like Funk Whale as well, like I couldn't find like Nicki Minaj on Funk Whale. It'd be more like smaller artists, which is kind of good in its own way as well.
Yeah, that's what you're going to find. You're going to find smaller artists. The bigger artists have not picked up on that. In fact, I find very little on Funk Whale. I was going to mention Funk Whale on here. it doesn't cross my path, so I'm not a big, discovering new music, so I haven't really played with that much, so, but it also allows you to interact with people. If you find your artist on Funk Whale, you subscribe to them from Mastodon, and then when they release new stuff, boom, you can get it right in your feed, which is kind of convenient. And then there are some event planning services. I mentioned 2 of them. One of them is integrated well with the Fediverse. The other one, it's been on the roadmap for like 4 years, and they haven't showed up with it yet. So I'll put it on there because I like the service, but they haven't yet fully joined it. Mobilizon is event planning software. Integrates nicely with the Fediverse. Gettogether.community, they have a really neat service. Have not completed the Fediverse component of that yet. Okay, and you can see there are lots and lots of services there. It's hard to even keep track of them. Every time, like I pulled this in the last time I did it, there's even more stuff than that now. So, the big moves that are happening over on Twitter by a certain individual, like shutting off API access for developers and stuff like that, raising the prices to where they're untenable for a lot of developers, have caused a lot of developers to come over to Mastodon and to the Fediverse to, try to make software for that, make better clients, better servers, all that stuff. So it's moving fast, particularly in the last 6 months. So I'm going to show a couple of quick screenshots, but I'm not going to dwell on these because I'm going to pull these up so we can see some stuff live later, because live demos are always so reliable. So Mastodon, this is the simplified view that you'll see if you sign up for a new Mastodon account. You see you have one column down the middle, but then you have things like local. Local is a feed of everybody that's posting on your instance. So if you're on a medium-sized instance, you're going to see everybody that's posting there. If you're on a larger instance, you can see a lot of stuff go by very quickly. And then the federated timeline is, and to keep it simple, it's all of the posts from everybody that your server touches. So everybody that subscribes to someone on another server, you're going to see all of that stuff. It's not everything in the Fediverse, but it's everything your server is seeing. So this is the advanced view, which is the view I like, which people have said is like sort of like TweetDeck was. You've got all of those things that I was describing, but you can make separate columns for them. You can also do things like tag you can make a column for a hashtag if you're following something. And I'm going to show you that when I do the live demo. But you can see your home, your local timeline, the federated timeline, and I just clicked on some on a user's profile here. So PixelFed. Very image-oriented. This is the portfolio view. There's another view I'm going to show when we do it live. So you can see my feed is bicycles leaning against things because I ride somewhere and take a picture of the bicycle leaning on something. PeerTube, like a very simple YouTube. This is actually a couple years old. The newer one has a little more to it. This is all videos, and this is videos from different people, and you can follow people from other PeerTube servers. Once you find them, you can follow them and have that feed come in from there. So, how do you find people on here? I mentioned that there's a discoverability problem, and that's inherent in if you're going to have a distributed system as opposed to a centralized system. So, go to your local timeline. If you've picked an instance based on something you're interested in, you should probably find people in there that interest you. Click on those things that interest you and see who is following those people. Those are probably going to be people that are talking about similar things. You can build up sort of a list of people to follow from there. You can also search for hashtags. There is no centralized search, and that's by design to prevent abuse to some degree. And if you're thinking, that's stupid, search is good and we should all have it, it's being hotly debated as we speak right now. This is not a done deal, and it's not something that's, put away and nobody's thinking about it. Trust me, people are thinking about it. But right now, the search is limited to hashtags. So if you want to be seen, put hashtags in your messages. Search for hashtags, and you can take. So when I showed that list here, you can make one of these columns following a hashtag. And I'm going to show that in a few minutes. And then if you're following a hashtag, you can typically find people that have interests that are related to them. So will the Fediverse stick around? If anybody's seen stuff about the Fediverse, there was a big boost of people when Elon started screwing around and stuff. And people said, oh, it went up, but then it's come down a little bit. Well, with any service, some people come over from another service, they look around and go, I can't find William Shatner, that's it, I'm out of here. And they leave, and that's okay. Because there's no big VC company that's saying, hey, if you don't have exponential growth every single quarter, we're going to shut you down. It's okay. We've got lots of small communities, and they can absorb a certain amount of stuff, a certain amount of users and stuff, a certain amount of users coming in. But slow growth is probably preferable, honestly. You know, we don't need a bazillion people coming in today. We need, 1,000 people a day. We can, collectively, as all of these different small communities can collectively absorb that as it goes along. So slow growth is okay. If you see things spike up and then drop down a little, it's all right. Nobody's quarterly numbers are worried about this. That's fine. So conclusion, I still have stuff after the conclusion. I realize this is not very aptly named. So the Fediverse gives us a way to use the web a little more the way we used to imagine. We have lots of independent websites. It's not, to steal from Cory Doctorow, it's not 4 websites or 5 websites with screenshots of the other 4 on them. It's more than that. We can do a little more. We've got lots of little communities that might have little niche things going on. Right now, we don't have advertising algorithms and a lot of the things that are making the other social networks kind of miserable. But if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'd like an algorithm to surface stuff that I'm interested in, there's nothing precluding someone from writing a client or a server that does that. But the good thing about it is, because we've got lots of independent clients and being run by different people, if you don't want that, you can avoid it. So I don't know about you, I used Facebook for a while, and Facebook started getting really miserable when they stopped letting me look at it the way I wanted to. Saying, no, we're not doing chronological anymore, we're doing this because it's much better, and now I see all garbage, and I'm not happy with it. Now, if they did that in Mastodon, if the instance I was on in Mastodon started doing that, I'd be like, okay, you can keep doing that. I'm going to go somewhere else where they're not doing that to me. I'm going to take all my followers and the follows with me. Same with advertising. People say, oh, there's no advertising on it. I would say, yeah. Now, if someone made an instance where those users subsidized their use by looking at ads periodically, I don't see a problem with that. If an instance decided, hey, I'm going to broadcast out ads to the Fediverse, they would probably find themselves blocked really quickly. And they would be a little island unto themselves, and that wouldn't work out well for them. So there's room for those kind of models if people really want to do it, sure.
I was say, speaking of this, can you talk about how privacy is different here based on compared to other social networks?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Tell you what, let me get through this slide, and then I'll talk about that if that's okay. Okay. So when you join the Fediverse, keep in mind you're joining a community. You're not joining Twitter. I'm jumping in the pool with everybody else in the world. You're joining a community. So it's a good idea to, you don't have to volunteer to moderate or anything, but be sort of aware of what's going on in the community. They're also largely volunteer run. So while there's no ads to speak of, probably, throw a few dollars to your administrator, because they're probably paying the server costs for that. If it's in the cloud, obviously there's ongoing monthly costs. If they're running it on hardware, they're paying for either colo space or in their basement. Throw those people a little bit of money, because they're running it out of their pocket largely. Where are we going here? Okay, before we get into links, so privacy. Mastodon makes no bones about private messages are not broadcast to everybody, but they don't pretend that they're really private. There's no end-to-end privacy yet. It's on the roadmap, they're working on it, but right now, if you have truly private things on Mastodon, your direct message to them should be, here's how you contact me on X other messaging service, be it Signal or Matrix or whatever one you trust. Because Mastodon is not pretending that they're private. People say, oh, it's not private like Twitter. Okay, turns out half the company had the ability to read your DMs. Oops. Okay, so they pretended that they were private, but they really weren't. Like I'm running this thing. But the Mastodon people are not pretending that these are private yet. They're working on an end-to-end thing, and I think they're leaning on Matrix for that, so that'll probably be Matrix in the background. But, again, not complete, but they're not pretending either. They're not. You could send it, see the problem is, so say I send a private message to you, and you say, Joel, blah, 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 is doing something I don't like. Well, guess what? You just included him in that conversation. Oops. Tread carefully. Like I say, if you really want it to be private, yeah, make that contact me on X other service over here, because it ain't really encrypted in any way. So, any other questions before I get to the giant list of links? Sure, question in the back?
You mentioned, I don't like this, I'll just jump to a different server. What is it like moving your identity or whatever to a different server?
It's not bad. It's a set of steps. It's not super, super easy, but it's not really hard. You create your new account on a new instance, you create an alias, and then you point the old instance's account to the alias, and then it moves over. I just did this a month and a half ago, and I got about 70% of my followers came over. Everybody I follow comes over. And I understand if you flip it, you flip the switch off and you flip it back on again, it'll try to make another attempt. And I also know my instance is running on a fork of Mastodon that has a bug that stops some of the followers from coming over. So I'm going to wait till I fix the bug before I flip it and do it again. So I'm expecting I'll get the vast majority of them. So it works pretty smoothly. It's not that hard. It is a few steps. You know, I would read a guide before you do that, but they're readily available. You got another question?
Yeah, excuse me. So I'm on Mastodon currently, but the issue I had when I first joined was that there are so many different instances. I had trouble choosing like which one was like best for me. Like, do you have any recommendations on how to navigate? Because there are a lot of different ones that are kind of focused on. Like,
I do. I got a couple of suggestions. The slide coming up. If you were looking for how do I choose an instance, there's a bunch of links on this slide right here. That like, and all of them, even if they say something else, almost all of them have a how do I find an instance thing. So you've got a little bit, if you want to do a little homework, you can find stuff. And if you're on one that doesn't work for you right now, you could probably move. Oh, something to keep in mind. Moving right now means Mastodon to Mastodon. You can't move from Mastodon to PixelFed. I mean, you can create another account, and then you can follow all people and ask them to follow you. But there's no automated process to move to something else yet. A lot of the other ones are working on being compatible with Mastodon, so you can move off of that. So there's a bunch of ones here. Honestly, we're a little short on time, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time describing these links. You can download them at the link at the bottom there, or you can take a snapshot, or you can email me and I'll send them to you. So I don't want to just read the text next to these links. There's lots of good links to give you lots of good information there. And let's see, just repeat, you can email me, murph@weirdness.com. You can contact me on the Fediverse if you get on and you have questions at murph@hackers.town. You can follow me. And I wanted to show a few other things. So I didn't see any central Pennsylvania-based Mastodon servers, but if you think more to the west, pgh.social is a Pittsburgh centered Mastodon instance. If you go a little further east, Johns.club is a Philadelphia-based instance. And if you go to the far east, maybe not the far east, go across the Delaware to New Jersey, we have GardenState.social, and I threw some flyers around if anybody's interested. It's a new instance based on people that like New Jersey. So it's small, but it's small with you. Very small. Oh, stop it.
Bruce Springsteen a member?
Yeah, there's you know, it's not, it's a nice place, but pick what you like. But if you're looking for something regional, there's some for either side. Sorry, I couldn't find anything in the middle. Maybe we need a local area networks.social if someone wants to do that. Keep in mind though, setting up server software is easy. Moderating communities is difficult. Okay, I think I'm gonna paint with a broad brush and say we're probably a pretty nerdy crowd because I could stand up a server, yeah, but then you have to deal with people. Just keep that in mind. Is that the network is made of people, and you're gonna have to deal with them. So go in with your eyes open. Not telling people don't run an instance, but that's like I say, if you think I can set this up, it's a piece of cake. Yeah, setting up's a piece of cake. Keeping it running and keeping people happy, that's a little bit difficult. Yeah, oh, lots of questions, I love it.
What's life look like if you've got lots of communities? You've got servers dedicated to those communities, but do you pick all 3, 4, artists and nerds?
If you're an artist and you pick an art-based thing, you can follow all those other communities. You don't need an account on every community that you have interest in, So if you say, hey, and I actually have an account on GardenState.social as well, but I actually use it primarily for talks like this because I don't want to follow people that have more sensitive stuff on there, so I wanted one that I keep a little more.
So you're logged into both?
Yeah, I'm logged into both. Here, let me show you. So, I'm like, why is this coming up slow? I had it preloaded. Okay. So, take a look here. We've got the home timeline. We've got the local timeline. I even left a little introductory post up there. So people are posting there. I looked at none of this ahead of time, so if there's something stupid or embarrassing up here, yeah, it's a live demo. And you can see I pinned a hashtag. Scale 20X, this was a big open source conference that happened, a big Linux conference that happened in California 2 weeks ago, where I actually gave this talk there as well. And I wanted to pin that because there was a lot of activity on Mastodon for that. So now I have a column of stuff that's going to start to fade off now because the conference is over. But there was a lot of talk, and people saw people with giant cutouts of heads of people who couldn't be there, and so all the stuff that sort of the back channel for the conference. This was one of the back channels for the conference, was on Mastodon. Did that answer your question? I think I went awry on that.
Well, so yeah, you're on Garden State Social. You
Right.
might be on others, like you said, you might post stuff to PixelFed. Like, are those
Right.
connected?
Okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. We don't have a single sign. Being as distributed as it is, we don't have a single sign-on where you can go to one place and sign into all these services. So I wanted a place where I could post a lot of pictures and have a very picture-oriented feed. So I created a PixelFed account so that I could do my pictures. Let me pull up my stream here. So I could post my pictures to that thing. Now, if you wanted to see the pictures, I say, hey, I like bicycles leaning on things, I'll follow Murph's PixelFed account. Those will show up in, say, your Mastodon feed, and you can like them, you can comment on them, without signing up on PixelFed. That's what I'm getting at. If you wanted to post on PixelFed, you have to sign up for a PixelFed account. Same thing with PeerTube. Like if you saw the videos I do, which remarkably look very much like what we're doing here, because that's most of what I posted on there. You can follow it from Mastodon. You can comment, so you'll see the videos will be delivered to your feed, so you'll see them. You can comment on them, you can like them, you can boost them for better visibility, but you can't post new videos unless you create an account on one of those services. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I was thinking I brought that around at the end. You have a question, sir?
Yeah, I assume there's no such thing as a blue check mark or anything like that. So.
Oh, there absolutely are. There's emojis for anything you want. You can have a blue check mark, you can have a green check mark. You can have any check mark you want. If you look, did I put anything on there? No. I'm going to scroll through. Oh, here we go. Slashdot has a check mark there. And anybody can put any check mark they like wherever they want. But what I would recommend is give something resembling $8 a month to your instance admin so that your service sticks around. Because your admin could say, this is costing me too much money, this is too much hassle, and shut it down. And that could happen. It's like email. You can pick a big email server, you can pick a small email server. If you pick a small email server, they might stop doing that at some point. Now, luckily with Mastodon, you can move your account somewhere else, so it gives you a little more flexibility, but something to keep in mind. But yes, check marks, you have any check mark you like, and they're free. So far, I don't know, maybe somebody will come up with a new instance where they, Elon.social, and you have to pay for a check mark. I don't know, do anything. Any other questions? More than happy to answer.
I think we have time for one more question.
Oh, didn't realize we were that close, okay. Is anyone?
No, I scared it out there.
Yeah. Oh, let me show one more quick thing then. Like I said, I got a little bit short, so I'm sort of missing some stuff. So we saw PixelFed, saw that? So I made an event for this talk, not all of CPOSC. I didn't advertise it anywhere, so I'm not cheating anybody out of anything. There's nobody participating. But I advertised that. I was able to see that on my Mastodon account. Let me go to my bookmarks. I tried doing this live once. It does not work out as quickly as I'd like. So here's a picture from my PixelFed account. Here is a video from my PeerTube account. Now, of course, this is all me talking to me, but I did this for demonstration purposes. And the internet is slow, so I'm not getting thumbnails coming up quick. And look at this. So I followed the group called Free Software Enthusiasts that I created on Mobilizon. And when I created an event for an introduction to Mastodon and the Fediverse, it shows up in my feed with all of my other stuff. And then I reply back with a little bit of detail, and that shows up on the web page where the event is. So this is just a very disparate type of thing. Twitter doesn't have this sort of thing. You have that in Facebook, but they don't talk back and forth. Where from my Mastodon account, I can reply to this event. That helped? I'm glad you gave me the warning, so I got to that. I almost forgot. Yes?
Okay, this wasn't a question, but I told the host of my server that I was going to plug it here. So check out corteximplant.com. It's based on Cyberpunk, like the tabletop game. It's really cool. It's very small. Everyone's really friendly. It's like, kind of like really nerdy, and I think it's really sweet. So check it out.
Is that correct?
Yep, Cortex Implant.
Okay. I'll give you a plug. I'll give you a plug on the screen and everything.
Oh my God, I'm going to be so happy.
So yeah, and like I say, you can follow me on murph@hackers.town, murph@pixelfed.social, murph@gardenstate.social.